You see that in what part?
When we regard it as something neutral.
Okay, yeah. So when we regard technology as something neutral, as something ordinary, we need to read it, you suggest, then we are in danger of missing what really is going on. That's a good point, yeah. So, the first, I love the first sentence. The essence of technology is not technological. Yeah? The essence of photography is not photographic. How does it sound? The essence of the essence of a steak is not the meat. Is that right? Yes, I am trying to confuse it. But I'm just trying to kind of to play with these words and understand when they really grab us. You know, the essence of technology is nothing. Technology is not the essence of technology. The essence of technology is by no means anything technological. Well, what does it mean? How do you understand this kind of sentence?
It goes further. It goes further.
It goes further, deeper.
It's not just deeper. It's not just about the machines. It's more than that.
So what is something technological? Well, exactly. I think it's as you say, Rain. Type technology into, let's say, Amazon, and you get a long list of technology. Yeah, and that has nothing to do with the essence of technology.
It's a means to an end.
What is means to an end?
The technology.
As a result.
Well, that he says. Well, we come to that later. He speaks about the means to an end, I think, in the next paragraph. But at the moment he's saying that technology is not technological. If you want to understand the essence of technology, don't go to the Argos catalog. Don't go and look at various technologies and what they do. Don't, for instance, ask, what is the role of the television in the forming of a nuclear family? That is not the question that will help you to understand the essence of technology. Because the essence of technology is not in the technologies. So where does it lie?
The reason we created the technologies in the first place, like the desire, the laziness, whatever it could possibly mean, whatever we're trying to solve by having it.
Yeah.
So the human element is like it.
Well, what do you think in Kubrick's case, the essence of technology? The Space Odyssey?
The desire of knowledge.
What is the essence of technology? What is it? Without what? There will be no technology.
Curiosity.
Without us.
Extraordinary.
Do we need to watch it again? I wonder why it is the case. Why? It's interesting, isn't it? It's just there, staring at you.
It's us.
No.
Watching
The
the
What happened? What happened in the film that made technology possible?
Struggle.
The monolith.
The monolith. Okay. So is it fair to say that the monolith is the essence of technology, or is it pushing?
Say it.
Why is it pushing?
Because I don't know the logical way that you're like why you're.
Well, I'm just trying to. Heidegger is saying the essence of technology is not technology. Yeah. Now we just watched in Kubrick film the moment at which technology is being discovered. Yeah. So this monkey man looks at the bone he saw millions of times. It could be sheep, probably was sheep, and not unlike a million times before, looking at this bone now, he or she sees something else. Not a bone, but the possibility of killing, the possibility of breaking, the possibility of hammering. The whole world of potential options opens up. Where in the past there was just this bone, and the question was whether it has some meat left on it or no. And if no, it's useless. Yeah? Now, the essence of technology is not the bone, at least Kubrick says, or maybe Heidegger as well. The essence of technology is the event that made this possible. And this event has nothing to do with the technology itself. The monolith itself is not a tool. We don't know exactly what it is, but it is definitely not a tool. Yeah? It's not a shelter, it's not a prototype of the bone. Or maybe it is. Is it? Is the monolith a prototype of all tools to come? I think in Kubrick's imagination, there is this moment when just before the bone is being lifted, and in this lift becomes suddenly not a bone, but a mallet or a hammer. Yeah? In this moment, there is also a cut to the disk of the sun, just rising just above the monolith, and then it cuts back. So there is a kind of connection. Maybe the monolith is also the tool. Yes?
Can we say monolith triggered language?
Yes? I think
Because
so.
eventually the way we comprehend things is through language. Heidegger is saying that too, that
Yeah.
the way to think is by language.
Yeah?
And monolith actually, that's probably the first form of language, where you could comprehend that to be something else.
What is the first one language?
That you could comprehend that bone to be something else other than a bone.
That's a very good point. I think you're completely right. For Kubrick, you see in Kubrick's story, language is just an
It
element.
had to come before,
Language has to come before. So
before
language
discovering
is
the
the
tool
monolith.
itself.
Language is the monolith.
Yeah.
I think Heidegger will agree with you. Heidegger, because in Heidegger's story, obviously there is no monolith. You know, and then they walk in the desert and they saw the monolith. This is not in the Heidegger story, but language is. So that is actually an excellent point. Heidegger, as I said, he has a book on the way to language. He's famously said that language is the house of being. So being, this mysterious being that we're trying to understand, dwells in language, lives in language. So concrete and wood and stone is a human house, but being doesn't live in a house made of stone. Being lives in a house made of language. Okay.
But what is
So, what?
To do with consciousness.
No, I don't think it's to do with consciousness because Heidegger doesn't speak about consciousness. It's not in the Heideggerian story at all. It may be just a question of terminology, but we will see how Heidegger is talking about. But look at so the essence of technology. The essence of technology is not technology. Maybe it is not language. Maybe it is the monolith. But we will not find it in a catalog, yeah, of technologies. Okay. So we shall never experience our relationship to technology as long as we merely. So, but what does it mean for photography to say that the essence of photography is by no means anything photographic? Does it make sense? The essence of photography is not photographic. So what is the essence of photography? Let me give you, anyone? What is the essence of photography? Following Heidegger's journey, following Heidegger's path of thought.
The language,
Well, maybe, but, okay, yes. Sorry? Light?
It's what photographer wants to say to other people. It's what we communicate through it.
Thought?
Placeholder.
Well, What? Yes?
The event to try to capture the moment. To try to capture the event.
Let me give you an example, just so you see how two ways of thinking about an image can develop. Let's take the selfie as an example. You know selfies? Okay. What is the essence of a selfie?
Sharing.
Why do you say that?
So I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I think that maybe the essence of selfie is crystal. It's take the moment.
To take the moment. Okay.
Remember.
I think
Remember.
I think it's narcissism.
Narcissism. Perfect. But do you see how, whether it is sharing, whether it is narcissism, whether it is, what do you say?
Capturing, remember.
Whether it is memory, none of these things are photographic. Yeah? So, we don't need to go far to see how the essence of the selfie is not photographic, but then you locate it in narcissism, memory, sharing, what?
Art also.
Yeah. So I think you can see what Heidegger in fact is talking about. So we already learned to look at the selfie in the way Heidegger wants us to look at the judge. Yeah? Because we ask, what is its human use of the selfie? Yeah? And what we said, let's do another exercise. How about, do you know food photography?
What?
The genre of food photography. You go to a restaurant, you take a picture of your plate, probably before you started to eat, and you post it. Yeah? Or let's say the avocado sandwich, the avocado toast. You know, mashed avocado on toast, which apparently is one of the most popular images ever. Have you known that? It's how avocados get photographed, loads. So what about food photograph like that? What do you think is the essence of that? Is it the same as the selfie? Of what?
What are they eating?
But why?
I think it's the same.
Share lifestyle.
Sharing.
Yeah.
Why? What is the role of this gesture of taking a picture of your food?
Showing
Showing off?
off.
Really? That you can afford?
I think it's working on all kinds of different levels. But yeah, I think that's definitely an element sometimes, because I was thinking the way people show the same expression all the time. They have this pose and they have this angle, and the background is completely not important. So it's not about the moment. It's not recording really, it's recording the repetition of an image that they want to reproduce that they think is the right one. And there's also this element of fiction going on where they're creating lives that they're not. And people, instead of sharing that as in a communicative way, it's becoming an envious thing, that people are envying something that doesn't exist. And it's becoming very complex.
Mm-hmm. No? Well, okay, but have a look at this. So first, we understand that the essence of technology is not itself technological. Yeah? The second sentence says that to experience the essence of technology, we cannot just look at the technological, whether we try to ignore it or whether we try to understand it. Yeah? So whether you say, I'm just not interested in being on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. Is there anyone here who is not on Facebook? You're not. Heidegger says it doesn't matter. You can be not on Facebook. You can be on Facebook. You still don't get it. You still don't get it. Everywhere we remain unfree and chained to technology. Does it remind you of anything? chained to technology? You know anyone else who is chained? Who was chained?
Slaves.
Where?
Reason.
Okay, but also, I mean, obviously, when you are chained, you are imprisoned. Yes, Max.
Maybe in Wiltshire representation,
And where that happens?
when you say modernism, that we are chained to technology.
We are chained to technology.
Yeah,
That's right.
when you say
But what I'm trying to last week, maybe the week before, I told you about Plato's cave. In Plato's cave, if you remember the prisoners there, they were chained. They were chained so they would not be able to escape, and they would just be forced to look at the shadows on the walls of the cave. Yeah? Now, I'm not suggesting that that's exactly what Heidegger is referring to, but I think it is important that there is this dimension here as well. Everywhere we remain unfree and chained to technology. Think about this image. So, it's not, I am actually, apparently, according to Heidegger, I am chained to my mobile phone. I am chained to my laptop. Yeah? I am also chained to this table. And I'm chained to this bench. Why? And obviously because I'm chained to all these things, I am unfree. That's what Heidegger says. Why do you think that is?
Because in some way you needed it.
But don't you think it's an extraordinary thing to say? That we are chained to technology? That's not how we normally think. We normally think technology makes our life easier, no? So we got a dishwasher, and we got a washing machine, and we got a fridge, because all this technology, relieves us of labor and gives us free time. Heidegger says, not in this text, but in other texts, he says, and then what happens? Then you sit around and play computer games or watch films on Netflix, just trying to kill all this time you free for yourself.
But I mean, sorry, it's just not a current thought, this one, that we're changing to technology. Is it exactly what you're saying? Because it's not what people say all the time, that we became slaves of technology.
People say it all the time.
I think so. It's a current thought.
Yeah.
Normal, becomes common sense.
Yeah.
It's common sense that we are chained to technology.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, I think that as well. Yes.
Can we also say that we are chained to food? I mean, we need food to live or live better,
I think
just like we need
It's true.
technology.
It's true. Yeah.
So
And
why,
how we cannot get any food without technology.
so why did we say that we're unfree? If we are chained to food already, even though there's no technology.
And he explains that exactly in the next sentence. So he says, everywhere we remain unfree and chained to technology. And now you are asking, well, isn't that kind of obvious? Yeah? He says, though, and I think he exactly has in mind that objection, because in the next sentence he says, here, we are delivered over to it in the worst possible way when we regard it as something neutral. So he says the problem is not so much that we are chained to technology, but that we consider that as normal. That is the problem. Yeah? It's the normalization of this bondage. That is, for Heidegger, the greatest danger. Even more dangerous than being chained to technology is the way we consider it as normal, as something neutral. Because when we regard technology as something neutral, then we forget completely what is its essence. Yeah? Okay, now let's go back to Stanley Kubrick. In the sequence we saw, the essence of technology, we can say, well, maybe it is the monolith. Yeah? And what will it mean then to consider technology as neutral? What it means then? if you are in this field, what would it will mean for you to start considering technology as neutral?
So not thinking, not discovering things, not going beyond things.
Well, it might mean forgetting the monolith. Forgetting that there is a connection between the monolith and technology. The forgetting of the monolith might happen if technology starts to appear neutral. Okay.
But that's all based on there was a monolith. What if there wasn't a monolith?
What if there wasn't?
I think that the monolith is like, it's not an actual monolith. It could really just be
Yeah, but
obviously there had to be some sort of, like, the technology had to have been conceived, so there must have been something that made somebody think that. It doesn't actually have to be like a brick.
I think, you know, it is the classic question, which you're right. How something happens out of nothing.
I agree with that. But the difference is that the monolith is kind of with, for me, there's no logical relationship between the usage of both of tools. But the development of technology, it's always a link. Like they develop something, then they realize we can create something for ourselves to use. So the difference is there is no link.
But what about the very first technology?
And what
The
was
very first one?
something should have triggered that, right? The
Yeah,
thought.
there was nothing-
Something needs to trigger the thought and you to do or act or think in a certain way.
It's just
Monolith is just a trigger in that.
Like if we have bad telephones, we might develop better telephones. But what about before the telephone? Like what made us say, oh, we need a telephone? There was like a thought. There was like a proverbial model.
I think that's the same. That's a similar question to how like
Guys, can we have just one conversation at a time? We can go over to in a second. Yes.
I think that's a very similar question to how life started.
In a way, it can be like this. But I think there is something else there because, guys, sorry, they want to say something? No?
No, I actually do. I don't, because we were discussing, because I thought you were thinking literally, and then he goes, no, Darwin. And I'm really confused now.
Well, good reasons to be confused. But what if we say something like that? One way to understand this passage is that perhaps technology is not only something we use, but it also changes us. Yeah? So what if technology not only, let's say, a lawn mower. So you have a lawn mower and you mow the lawn with it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you go over the grass and you mow the lawn. So okay, the lawn mower changes the lawn, obviously, chops it. But perhaps Heidegger says it does something else. It's not only chopping the lawn, it's also changing you. Because in the past you used to wake up with sunrise and take your sickle and walk through the field, and perhaps manually chop. You had a very different experience of the land and the sun and the grass under your feet and the moisture, and you were completely one with this field and you looked after it by chopping the grass. And now you drive this petrol lawnmower from the garage, you start it, you walk in the cloud of fumes, you finish the job quickly, you don't hear the birds anymore, you just hear the motor. You are changed. You are a different person. You not only changed the lawn, you also changed yourself. But if you keep talking about technology, in terms of what it's doing as technology, what it's doing to yourself, you forget. So is it possible that there is something like that going on here? Because it says here, we are delivered over to technology in the worst possible way when we regard it as something neutral. At the same time, I think when you say, well, then the question of technology is exactly the question of life, is a very interesting point, because maybe life really needs technology to happen. Because for life to happen, you need to have, let's say, you need to have processes that are capable of storing energy, collecting energy, storing it, and it's only this ability to store and preserve and spend later that makes life sustainable. Because how are you going to survive through the night if you did not accumulate enough energy to heat yourself during the cold period? Yeah? So, isn't it interesting how the jag also performs these functions of accumulating and preserving in order to use later? Now, in the living organism, we call it photosynthesis. But perhaps the provocative point Heidegger puts forward is that before there can be any life, there has to be technology. Yeah? Life is a question of a technological process that makes life possible. So then the monolith doesn't appear such a far-fetched thing after all. Okay, how are we doing so far? Do you find anything? Right, and you okay to carry on? Or you want a quick break? Break, okay. 10 minutes. That could be paused.